What does filmed for IMAX mean? It isn't just a movie that'll look great on IMAX's screens. It means that hiding from a sandstorm feels like fear in every flicker. And every triumph is felt in every sound wave. And the things we've only imagined, you can truly experience those too. That's what filmed for IMAX means. Get tickets to experience Dune Part 2 now and IMAX's exclusive expanded aspect ratio.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the latest episode of All Too Real 2. My name is Michael Lee Cohen II, and with me, as always, is...
Sesame, Dante, Carter.
It's a good name.
Yeah, I like it.
Strong name.
It does have a certain element of, like, strength to it, yeah.
Yes. So, today on the show, we had the pleasure of seeing Clerks 3 the other evening. And we will be reviewing it. Just want to start out and ask you, Sesame, on a scale of like 1 to 5, what do you give this movie?
Let's see, 5, I'd say... I'm going at like maybe 3.8, maybe a 3.9
Okay.
out of 5.
All right. I give it a 4.5.
Out of 5, but I'm like, well,
Yeah, I think I give it a 4.5.
Okay.
Yeah. What were your... So we'll start out here with some initial thoughts. What are your initial feelings and thoughts about the movie? Without getting into the plot here yet.
Without getting into plot. I mean, I liked it. It was, I mean, I like all the Clerks movies, especially Part 2. I think it was probably my favorite of all three, personally, just because of, like, the change of scenery and the new character of Elias, which is just, like, favorite characters of all time, like of any movie actually. The guy plays that character so well. Yeah, I mean, it was funny, but it had like it was I don't know how to say it. It had like a looming of like seriousness behind it.
Yeah.
Like I know the first one had like drama because there was about like, well, whether should I go back to school or that kind of thing, but just had a more like I guess midlife crisis vibe to it, you know.
Yeah, and the second one had drama to it too, but it wasn't as yeah. And I mean, I think this movie was, like, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5, I think, because mainly I think it's close to being Kevin Smith's best work, writing-wise, I think, and directing-wise, too, to a point. The acting in it was, bar none, the best in any of his films, in my opinion, though. But, yeah. Anyways, but I do have a soft spot for Clerks 2, though, and Chasing Amy as being probably my favorites of his catalog of films. So I'm just going to warn people right now, we're probably going to spoil the movie from now on, so if you don't want to be spoiled before you see the movie, don't listen to the rest of this until after you see it.
I mean, we'll spoil you with like free content, stuff like that, but like we're not gonna spoil the movie for you, you know. So like,
well, I don't mind breaking down. We're gonna say what happens in the movie. I just want to make sure that people don't, continue listening if they don't want to know how the movie ends.
no, totally. I'm just saying too that
Yeah.
continuously spoil you guys with free content, so you should probably check out our Patreon. No, and
Yes, you should. That right up front. I'm going to say this too before you tune out. Check out our Patreon. Check out all2real2.com. Check out our TeePublic. All of our social media. Tell a friend to watch not watch, but listen to the show. If they want to watch it too, they can, but there's no video component.
yeah.
There's no video component, so you could just like look at your screen.
Yeah.
While it's playing, and you can watch that little bar go further along as the show progresses.
You can just put up like a picture and then just like, and then.
If you can find pictures of us, go ahead. If you don't know what we look like and you just want to imagine us, I can describe us. I look a lot like George Clooney, and Sesame looks a lot like Brad Pitt. It's this weird thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of like, but like, Ocean's 11 2 era.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No. If we were cartoon characters, we'd look a lot like Bert and Ernie. Wait, what? They're puppets, anyways. They're not even cartoon characters. But anyways, so tune out now if you don't want to listen anymore and get any spoilers, and come back to us like after you see the movie, even if it's months or years from now. Do it. Okay, so movie. Lots of interesting things happened in this movie.
Yeah.
So we can kind of break this down a little bit. How's this start out here, Sesame?
Well, it starts off, they're working inside the Quick Stop that they now, co-own. Elias is still working for them, still being, super Christian. He's got his own version of Silent Bob now, and they're starting some crypto kind of
this is
weird thing with like kites for Jesus or something like that.
Yeah, we've got, and just so we know who our characters are, we've got Dante and Randal, who are played by Brian O'Halloran and Jeff Anderson, respectively. Mm-hmm. And then we've got Elias, played by Trevor Furman. And then his friend, who's kind of his own little Silent Bob, is named Blockchain Coltrane.
That's right.
Yeah. And he's played by Austin Zager, who is Harley Quinn Smith's boyfriend in real life.
Oh, interesting.
So so basically like almost like Kevin Smith's son-in-law. So they're not married yet, but for all intents and purposes, he basically
he's like So that's what we got going on. They got some kites that's also like somewhat tethered to their crypto drop. It's a whole weird thing.
And the kites have Buddy Christ on them. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's still like super Christian, And then Randal goes into Randal mode, where he's just making fun of Christ and all that kind of shit or whatever. And then Elias, isn't having it, so he prays to God or to Jesus to smite Randal, and then right at that moment, Randal starts having a heart attack.
Yeah.
So he gets, Dante, is in the back, and he sees him falling down, so he, immediately, calls an ambulance or whatever, and then, we find out that Randal's actually currently having a heart attack and doesn't even feel any pain or like
he just can't breathe. He can't catch his breath. He can breathe, but he can't catch his breath. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. He couldn't catch his breath. That's why they sent him in. And then we got this doctor who's, didn't you say she was she was in The Mandalorian.
Yeah, Amy Sedaris plays his doctor, and
Right, yeah.
she has a recurring role in The Mandalorian, as well as she was the star of Strangers with Candy, and it's been in like millions of comedic shows. She had a recurring role on um, The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt and other things too. But
yeah, that's right.
yeah,
Right. Anyway, so she's dressed as a witch because she was at a party or whatever, so that they kind of got that campy,
yeah,
thing going on. Meanwhile, Elias, feels terrible, so then he's praying for Randall to live, but then he renounces Jesus and then becomes a Satanist immediately, and then
yeah.
prays to Satan to fix
save Randall. Yeah.
Whatever. So yeah, Randall survives, and basically he's gotta be on like a healthy diet and all that.
We also have a funny orderly who has to shave Randall, played by Justin Long. So yeah,
Justin, that guy.
Yeah. Who will be seen soon in Kevin Smith's, I don't know if it's his next film or the film he's working on very soon. He has written a script for Tusks, a sequel to Tusk, his film that he did about 10 years ago.
I don't think I saw that one.
You should see it. It's a mind fuck.
What is that? Oh.
I don't want to give too much away, but it's about a podcaster who goes to investigate this weird guy.
Okay.
That is like a legend up in Canada.
Okay.
And that Justin Long plays, and Michael Park plays this weird guy. Rest in peace, Michael Park. But basically the guy ends up. I'm not ruining too much here for a 10-year-old movie, but right. he kidnaps him and basically turns him into a walrus through surgery and stuff. It's a weird movie with a lot of metaphors and stuff in it that are deep, and Kevin Smith, people told him when that movie came out that it was so stupid and that there'll never be a sequel and stuff like that, and so he's basically taken that as a challenge, because he's said in interviews recently that since he's had his heart attack, he just doesn't give a fuck. So he's just he's gonna make what he wants to make. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
he's got enough money now that he could live comfortably. So he could just make whatever he wants. Yeah, but I'll make sure to check that out. That sounds really weird and kind of creepy. And I love Justin Long. I think he's great. Ever since
Haley Joel Osment's in it too. It's as well as Johnny Depp and his daughter that I can't remember her name, and Harley Quinn Smith's in it as well. Yeah, so yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, so
that's cool.
Yeah.
So Elias turns to Satan literally immediately, and then Randall survives. So then he thinks that it's because he paid to Satan.
Yeah.
So now we get this sort of running gag where Elias is always showing up looking goth or in different kinds of costumes or whatever,
because he was over the top in his love for Christ, and now he's over the top in his newfound relationship,
which is it's just so Elias, his personality, and but God, I love Elias. He's just such a
Trevor Furman is hilarious, and he hasn't done a lot of work, a lot of movies, but he's really good in this. In this series, I mean, he was also in Now Jeff Anderson's only directing credit to this point, where he co-stars with Jeff in that movie.
Okay.
If you haven't seen that, I'd recommend that too. But yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either. So, we got these running gags where Randall thinks he has a small penis, so he doesn't want, his pants to be taken down because they need to do something with his urethra or something like that, or to connect to his heart that will make him be able to breathe better or whatever. So it's basically that's sort of the first I don't know if you'd call it the first act, but like maybe half of
Yeah.
the first.
And I mean,
Like,
and obviously the heart attack aspect was inspired by the fact that a few years back, Kevin had a heart attack in between two tapings of a special that he was doing, and almost died from what they call a widowmaker heart attack is what he had, and so he basically gave that to Randal in this movie. So
right.
yeah,
Then Kevin, became a vegan. Very very heart healthy diet.
Yeah,
And I think he still is. I mean, I'm not sure, but
I'm pretty sure he is.
so which is good. I mean, I've wanted to go vegan many times, but I never had the discipline to really,
Yeah.
but I probably should do something like that, or vegetarian at least, or something. But because meat's just not good for you. It really is. I know that the meat lobby will tell you that it is, but you can get your protein from all kinds of other things. But anyway,
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. But so yeah, Randall gets the idea that he, since he kind of grew up watching movies, and then he worked in the video store for so long that he pretty much just he's probably seen like more movies than like most like your average person, so he kind of has like this very large palette of like tropes and all this kind of
Yeah,
stuff. So then,
I mean, it worked for Quentin Tarantino. They even mentioned that in there. I mean, he worked in a video store and watched all the movies in the store, and that was his education. He was a college or high school dropout, so it's like, okay. So yeah, he's decided to make the film. This was after at the hospital, the doctor basically said to kind of support him in what he needs to do. Also, after saying to shove some vegetables down his throat. Yeah, so he decides he wants to make a movie about his existence working in the quick stop for basically 30 years, and it's the movie of Randal, nothing else.
right, so, it's his life.
Yeah. And we've got they end up having auditions, and we see a bunch of famous people auditioning for the roles in this, including all of the Impractical Jokers from the TV show The Impractical Jokers. We also have Sarah Michelle Gellar, Freddie Prinze Jr., they're a couple in real life. We also have Supergirl and Mon-El themselves, Chris Wood and Melissa Benoist, who are also married in real life.
That's great.
Yeah, with Fred Armisen. Who else do we got? We got some other people too. Oh, Ben Affleck, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is weird because he played a character in Clerks 2, which is funny.
Oh yeah. Plus, he's in the Askew-universe as several other characters.
Yeah, yeah.
So, that's the thing. That's the thing about the Askew-universe is that people will play several different roles. I mean, Jason Lee's played several roles, and Brian O'Halloran himself has played his own cousins. So,
wow.
Yeah, his character's cousins. Yeah, that's why they described why he looked like him. Basically. So, but yeah, yeah. So, yeah, because he played Grant Hicks in Mallrats, who was Dante's cousin. So what happens? They basically are trying to audition for the people, but then he ends up realizing that it's probably just better to have the people in the movie play that the people that the characters are based on actually play the characters.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah. What else goes on here?
So yeah, so we're getting kind of meta here, and it was actually quite impressive of how many people they got from the first movie to reprise their roles. I mean, even just people who are like just only had like one scene, as like a customer or whatever, like, to just do that thing. Like they had like I think they had they had the woman that was trying to rent a movie, and then Randall like wasn't really paying attention.
Yeah.
Or, like,
who
Clerks fun.
who then had to redo the role as Lucy from I Love Lucy.
That was her like stipulation,
Yeah.
To do a scene.
I guess this woman, I guess, is like a local legend in the Jersey area there.
Oh, okay.
And she does she's a Lucy impersonator at some kind of events that they have in that town.
Oh,
and so Kevin wrote it in because of that. So
it's like cool, like cross promotion for her.
Yeah.
Like a big favor for her like popularity right there. Like like we got the guy, who's sitting in front of the cat pooping in the litter box. It's just sitting on the counter for some reason, and then
which reminds me, in the first movie, my friend Vincent Pereira was the cat wrangler in the original movie.
Oh, okay.
I believe it might have been his cat. He appears in this movie. He actually has the first line of dialogue. We actually walked in a little late to miss it, but
yeah,
I found a screener that I could watch, and I saw the scene. Luckily,
okay.
But yeah, the first line of dialogue in the movie is "fuck you," and he plays the character of Hot Goalie.
Yeah.
And I convinced. I was talking to him the other day, and I said that he should. There should be a Hot Goalie movie, and and the tagline I put on there is "Hot Goalie the movie." Looking hot isn't his only goal.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
I like that tagline. Yeah. So we get we get all these people. We got the Truly's gum guy. He shows up this time. He's got just like a rotting beef or something in his like he's a method actor now or something like that.
Yeah, and we had an interview with Scott, actually, the Truly's gum rep.
Yeah.
I just re-released the episode this week too, so.
Yeah. And so we had his his bit, doing like the tobacco's gonna kill your lungs and stuff, and then we had the guy who was like the super buff, like gym bro kind of guy. But then he kind of flipped the script where he's like, wait, Asian interior design, that sounds pretty racist or whatever,
And that's Ernie O'Donnell, who also was on our podcast. So
right.
Check
and
them out.
It's like talking about there's no diversity in this cast, it's just kind of interesting because he kind of played like a sort of like gym bro and first, I was kind of quote woke. What woke boy strikes again? No,
boy strikes again.
And so we just it's kind of interesting because we just get this I did read some reviews after seeing the movie, of course, because I don't read reviews before.
Yeah.
It's just my policy. But some people were complaining this film is for Clerk fanboys and nobody else or whatever, because basically it's just a rehashing of the first two movies. It's well, no, it's
there's more to it. There's a lot more to it.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it because if you think about it, they're not just doing a cut for cut, reshooting of every scene of the first two movies, because for one thing that would be like a 4-hour-long movie.
But I mean, honestly, any sequel is just a movie for the fanboys of the previous movies.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, oh, Star Trek Wrath of Khan is only for Star Trek fans.
Right. It's no, and then
yeah, I mean that's just stupid.
I read a couple of reviews just saying that oh, it's just the nostalgia for nostalgia's sake or whatever. I'm like, no, not really actually, because there's a whole lot of other things. For example, we find out I'm not going in chronological.
Oh no, yeah, we don't have to. Yeah.
We find out that Rebecca died shortly after the second movie ended, probably months or just a few months.
And the baby died too, so it's
because she was pregnant, and we don't find out how she died until like near the end of the movie, but she, because it said 2006 is when she died, and that's when
Clerks 2 came out, so
place in that year as well. Yeah, so he went to, so like he keeps like getting these sort of like imaginations, like where he's like actually talking to her, kind of like kind of thing, like at her like gravesite. It's weird though that it didn't give the date. It just said like
it said it didn't say the actual like date like of the month, but it said the year.
Yeah, that's what I mean though. It didn't say
a lot of tombstones will do that. Like if you a lot of times it's just because you have to pay by the letter sometimes on those.
That's right, because chisel. Okay. And then and they weren't exactly made of money, either during that. So like, so that was really sad, to find out that kind of early on in the movie actually, and like, we sort of like we sort of get in the same kind of like type of arguments that because like when people are friends for a really long time, they tend to have the same kind of dynamic. So Randall's still kind of being his sort of selfish ass, kind of, this is my movie, this is about my life.
And on top of that, he's got the victim card to play of the fact that he had a heart attack. I mean,
that
he almost died. I mean, not to say anything bad about people that had heart attacks and survived. I mean, but you can't really milk that forever.
Yeah, because he kept bringing it up like, oh, I had a heart attack, so we need to do this scene good. It's like, wait, what? And then again, not chronological, but like
I'm sure in scenes that didn't happen in the thing, it's like, I almost had a heart attack, so we're gonna have to watch this TV show tonight.
Yeah,
that sort of thing. He, yeah.
And then, like, of course, we got James Silent Bob. That they own a weed store now, so that's a thing.
And it's in the old RST video store.
Which is funny because you can still see tapes in the background. Like they didn't
clean out. Yeah, I think that's just what RST still looks like. It's just because I think I don't think it's open, but I think the stuff's still in there and stuff, and they just own the spot. I mean, there's a third place in the strip mall that Kevin owns now, called the Smodcastle podcast theater.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, they broadcast live podcasts from there sometimes and stuff, and they'll rent it out to people to do that, and they have like little, stand-up shows and other things in there, from what I understand. Ernie O'Donnell like runs the place, from what I understand. On the side of doing his like because he's a construction worker, and he remodeled the whole place for him. So
nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Who played Rick Darris, by the way? Yeah. So
yeah. And again, not chronological, but we did have the dude from Mallrats who was like talking about the schooner.
Oh yeah. Ethan Suplee. Yeah, he was one of the auditioners. Yeah.
So that was kind of fun. But yeah, I mean, like going back to what you asked earlier, like, I would say now I'd give it maybe like a 4 out of 5, star. Just kind of talking about it, looking back on it. Because like, I do think some people miss the point a little bit of like, oh, well, they're just being lazy by redoing the thing. Like, no, it's like the plot of this movie is like, like we're not watching characters anymore.
No, and we only got a few scenes where they redid scenes from Clerks 1. It was more talking about the scenes than anything, and it was also and you know how hard it is to replicate something that you filmed like 3 decades ago.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and you have a different cinematographer as well, because Dave Klein, who was the cinematographer of the first one, went on to be like a great cinematographer, which is really interesting if you look at the fact that Clerks is his first movie.
Wow.
And he's done a lot of the like cinematography on The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett and stuff like that, and it's just really weird. Yeah, but he's too busy. He was too busy to do this movie, so that tells you. But what they did, little side note. Kevin, at the time when they were filming, HBO Max had Clerks up on there as a movie you could watch. So to make sure that they shot the scenes exactly like that, he would pull it up on his phone and pause it, and then they'd put it right behind the camera so they could like set up the shot exactly like they had it from when they shot the original movie.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that's how much detail they were going into it. Because he says, it'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, Brian, you got to move like an inch over, like sort of thing, So, and then
Right.
and they play it back. He said they would do the scenes and repeat these lines, and he'd make them redo it because he's like, that's not how you did it in 1993 or whatever. So.
Wow. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's been 30 years, man.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta do it exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, we got a lot of that stuff going on. We got the what was her name? Vanessa?
Veronica.
Veronica, right?
Yeah, we've got Marilyn Gigalotti, who awesome person too. She came back,
Yeah.
and man, she killed it in this movie.
Oh, she did. Because Randal sent her the script and it had the whole 37 dicks,
Yeah.
Like really? Like, come on, like, like like I'm not gonna approve of this, like, and then and so like her and Dante kind of have a heart to heart because she kind of exploded in anger and said something about like none of you know what it's like to have a family or whatever, and then
yeah, and his died, so yeah.
So then she makes it up to him by banging him in her car. So then,
like you do,
you do,
yeah.
I wish that like if a woman was really mean to me and then she's like, all right, make up for what I said. No.
Yeah, I'm still upset. I almost directed Marilyn in a movie, but we couldn't afford her.
Oh.
Because her being union.
Well, yeah.
But oh well, someday.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
So well, we get a lot of this. I mean, yeah, I guess you could call it nostalgia, but I really wouldn't use that word about what's really going on in this movie.
It's no more nostalgia than we have in real life, because like when we revisit people at different points in their life, and especially if somebody's still friends with their best friend that they've been friends with since they were 12 or whatever they said in this movie,
right.
It's like, of course you're going to have the same kind of dynamics. You're going to have different things, but it's a different perspective on life at different times in your life. Like they're close to 50 now. So they're, as opposed to the 20 somethings they were in 1993 or 4, it's like they're seeing the world from a different angle, but still seeing that same world. It's not like all of a sudden they're space rangers or something, you know what I mean?
So right. It's like, they own Quick Stop now. They're a co-business. They kind of, stepped up a little bit in the world, and I know Randal kind of has this sort of like thing where it's like that's like with Randal, it's always never been like enough for him, but like at the same time, he kind of projects that onto Dante a little bit of like make it out like he's the one that's always bitter and stuff. It's like, yeah, but you kind of got that same thing going on, like
and I mean it's the thing where like at the end of part 2 we had the idea that Randal was the one with the idea that he wanted to buy the Quick Stop and reopen it. And that in his life was basically what he wanted to do with his life at that point until he had a heart attack and decided that maybe I should make a movie.
Right.
But what it is like with Dante though, he had his life kind of like stuck in an arrested development back in 2006 when he lost Becky and his daughter.
Like, yeah, he never got over it.
Yeah, and I mean he's stuck in that. Yeah, like he's like kind of like just frozen in amber right there in that part of his life.
Yeah, and like she even said too, like one of the flashbacks, or not flashbacks, but one of the, like basically said like like we knew each other for like 15 minutes, like like it's like very
very
Then again, you could still fall in love with someone in a short time period. So
it doesn't matter how long you're with somebody. It's just your feelings are going to be strong regardless of how long you know somebody.
right,
You could know somebody for a day and they could be the most important person in your life,
yeah,
or you know somebody for years and they're just that guy down the street that you say hi to once in a while. You know.
right. So what else happens then?
Then we have a situation where they're trying to film a scene. I don't know how in order this is, but there is a part where they're trying to refilm the scene. Oh yeah, this whole time, by the way, Dante is producing the film. He was
Oh
hired
yeah,
as a
that's right.
producer. He didn't want to do it at first, but then decided to do it because he, wanted. And he also, to finance the film, he called up Emma, his ex-fiance from part two,
Oh yeah.
played by Jennifer Schwalbach Smith, Kevin Smith's real life wife. Um, he called her up to borrow the money to finance the film for Randal, and they needed $30,000, and he put up his half of the quick stop as collateral. So, and then at one point we get another thing. They were looking for the cinematographer. The cinematographer in the film ends up being Silent Bob, who explains why they shoot the movie in black and white, which is the same one of the cop out answers that Kevin Smith used to give back about why he shot the original in black and white.
Right. Yeah.
It was all about money, but he basically said, well, it kind of gives this whole, drab appearance of life and in a carry out, and also we're subconsciously seeing the film through through a security camera that's not there, and stuff.
Right. Yeah. It's just like a bullshit. Yeah.
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 But actually, it's funny. That's some of the reviews early on too. That's why he latched onto it, is because some of the reviewers said that that's what made the film poignant and pertinent. It did. So because sometimes when you do things, it's not for the reasons that people respond to. Like
right.
Somebody because people read in. I mean, just listen to our reviews of any of the Marvel TV shows. We'll watch something and be like, well, there was an R in the background of that scene, so that means that that eventually we're going to see a character with the letter R in their name. And no,
yeah, of course,
yeah.
Yeah, and then, oh, that's right too, because this review is more of like a general review, and kind of like about the movie, as opposed to like a bit by bit,
but like I'm saying though, that people can read into anything, and that's what they read into, like in the in when Clerks came out. But it worked for him, and the thing is, a lot of times once you put art out there, it's no longer yours, it's how somebody else interprets it.
Like, even if you yourself say like, well, actually this means this, it's like, well, but
I mean, because I went to the art museum yesterday, and one of the people with me was my 3-year-old great niece, and the way she's seeing a painting is definitely not the same way I'm seeing it. So but we're still getting on our own interpretation of the art. So but anyways, so he borrowed this money and everything, but we do have the scene where they're going to try to recreate the donkey show that took place at movies.
Oh God.
Only thing that bothered me is that I know for a fact this was a different building than the movies from the second movie, because they shot this whole movie in New Jersey, whereas that movie was shot in a different state.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they shot it in where'd they shoot it? Was it like
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Or no, it wasn't Arizona. It was
yeah. But anyways, they shot it somewhere, maybe wherever they could find, a tax break at that time. But now there's tax breaks in New Jersey, so that allowed him to actually shoot the whole movie in Jersey. But Dante goes there to, film that scene, and he can't deal with it because that's, a memory that he had with Becky. And So then later he shows up drunk at the Quick Stop, and at the same time there's a reporter from the Leonardo High School newspaper there with her parents and with her mom Lisa, and her name is Lisa, and her dad's name is Lando.
Lando.
And nice. Lando was a recurring character on the animated series. So this is the first time we see him in live action. This time being played by Mark Bernardin, who is the co-host of Fat Man Beyond with Kevin Smith, the podcast. So
okay, I remember.
Yeah.
This is things where things get like really sad, and I'm
yeah. So
they not. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I'll just say I'm still not satisfied with the ending, but it's more of just like a personal thing.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You know.
I understand. So what we end up having is this, like, they're recreating the salsa shark scene from the first movie, where they end up fighting and stuff. But then they actually do get into a fight.
Yeah.
And because you know, and Dante's like drunk when he starts, and then everything, and then in this scene, by the way, Brian O'Halloran gives the best performance of his career.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, I talked to him this morning and told him that. So, and he talked back to me. Yeah, he thanked me and stuff. So, wow. But yeah, it's just, it was so moving, that scene, and then he ends up collapsing to the floor, and he has a heart attack too. We don't know that at first. We think he's just collapsed because he's drunk, but he's not waking up. And so he gets rushed to the hospital. But they just had a fight where where Randal basically told him that they're not friends anymore.
Oh yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Randal thing.
Then what happens?
So Randal again being selfish, and he's like, you know, he's with Elias, because Elias didn't have much speaking role in this movie. He kind of showed up more in like weird costumes and stuff, but like he was still kind of a big part of like what was going on in the movie. So Randal's like, well, I'm just gonna go back and finish working on the movie, and Elias is like, are you kidding me? Like, dude, like, Dante was here the entire time. When
Trevor gave a great performance in that scene too.
Yeah, he did. And so he's like,
not to downplay any of Jeff Anderson's acting in this movie either, because he was consistent throughout and had some great scenes too. But yeah.
So basically, he's kind of and like I don't know the exact words. Basically, told Randal like he's the worst. Like, seriously, dude, like you're just gonna go home. Like when your friend is in the hospital, when like he stayed here the entire time for you, like and then so like he's kind of pissed off. He leaves and stuff. He eventually like finishes some parts and goes to the hospital to show Dante the movie or whatever. And then but Dante's heart attack was like way worse than his, and he ends up dying. But before he does, he kind of has like this sort of like, I don't know what you would call it, out of body experience or whatever, where he's like watching the movie like in a movie theater, but he's like the only person in the theater. But then Rebecca shows up and is like sitting next to him and talking and stuff, and then she's like, well, don't you want to finish the movie or whatever? And he's like, no, I trust the director. I know he's gonna the ending's gonna be fine or whatever. And then they walk away, presumably to heaven or whatever, and then
and the thing too is like the clips they're showing him are that we see while he's in that theater are not the clips from this movie. They're the clips from the original movie in part 2.
Right. Yeah. Like
so they're like real clips, and it's just.
And he was saying that this is like the best movie he's ever seen and stuff like that, and and then he dies, and that like totally shocked me because I wasn't expecting that at all. Because I mean, we already have one heart attack in the movie. I wasn't expecting, but like in retrospect, I should have seen something coming, because So like there's sort of like an Easter egg here. So like Kevin Smith is like super super into Degrassi High. So am I. Well, I haven't watched it in a long time, but I used to be like a real big. They would call it Broomhead, I guess.
Well, I mean, in the first movie, Lisa Spoonhauer's character is named Caitlin because of Caitlin from Degrassi Junior High.
Right.
So yeah.
And then Kevin Smith and Jay.
Which
Jason
is interesting too, because I think the characters of Lisa and High School Lisa were probably named in honor of Lisa Spoonhauer, who passed away sadly a few years ago.
Oh wow. So, yeah. So like, there's actually an episode of Degrassi: The Next Generation where Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes are actually in a couple of episodes because they're directing. Yeah. So there's like a little, and they're playing the theme song to Degrassi: The Next Generation, like whatever it takes.
Yeah.
I know, make it through. I think it was like the original, the original, because they changed it up quite a few times over the years. I think it was like the original.
Yeah, it was the long form version of it. Yeah.
2002 or one version or whatever, and then they played that earlier in the movie, like when Randal had the heart attack and he was like recuperating, and they were playing that as Dante was like entering like the room or whatever, and I should have seen something coming because like one of the big things that Degrassi, like one of their big catch lines was "We go there," like talking about like the deep issues that like other teen shows won't talk about, type of thing or whatever. So it's like, well, they went there because they killed off Dante. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's also like early on in the movie, Amy Sedaris' doctor character says something to him, basically saying about how Randal has to, eat better and stuff like that, and then he says something to she says something, I mean, to Dante about that too. You should too. You're about the same age, and
right, like,
and that basically that telegraphed it right away. I mean, that was like not a throwaway line; it was there for a reason.
I mean, yeah, I should have seen, but I didn't. But I should have saw that coming. Like, hey, you should eat more vegetables, and because you got to think about it too, they're probably eating shit from the quick stops because they're there all day anyway, and like
movies
and just paying for it in movies, and then but there's right before that though, Dante holds Randall's hand, as he's about to show him the movie, and it was just like really a really sad scene, and then immediately they show like the funeral, and it's like oh my god, like they actually killed him off, like, but like and it was really really sad for me, and stuff like that, because I really, I mean, for me it's like saying, well, they shouldn't have done that ending, but it's just because for personal reasons, not because it was like a bad ending as far as,
I mean, I didn't want that to happen, but I see why it had to happen.
Well, I kind of see it too, because like he never, for one thing, he never moved on from Rebecca. I was probably never going to, and they kind of tricked us a little bit though too, saying, oh, maybe he'll patch things up with Veronica because she's divorced, and they just
they throw you off.
So I was kind of like, oh, maybe they'll get back together with that. No, that was a trick. And then plus two, so like like in the original, like very very original Clerks, Dante actually gets killed at the end of the movie. He gets shot by a
he was gonna, and which they allude to in this movie too, because earlier in the movie they talk about it, he's like, you're not going to kill me in the third act, which ends up happening to his actual character.
Right, which they.
I mean, not his character, but the real Dante, not the character Dante. That.
Well, yeah, the real.
Not the Dante in the film within the film. Yeah.
Right. So like, the reason why he changed that is because he thought it was too dark, or people complained, or something like that. So then they didn't end it with him getting. So technically, Dante really was supposed to die anyway. So this was
he's
like
supposed to die like 28 years ago. So yeah.
It was almost like what was that movie where you cheated death, and then like
Final Destination?
Yeah, Final Destination. It's kind of like that situation where he cheated death, and also too, if you want to get like super esoteric, his name was Dante, and like the whole story of Dante's Inferno is that he goes to hell for a long time, and he checks out all the different.
Yeah, that's why the first movie was based on Dante's Inferno. So
right, and so now, but Dante eventually makes it to heaven though in the story. So this was like Dante's journey essentially, like from being in hell, and then like, for him, that was like maybe like Rebecca dying, and then the quick stop was like a purgatory thing, and then finally he ends up getting to go to like his great reward, if you will, or whatever, you know. So, but still very very sad ending, very bittersweet. But we did get like a little bit of sweetness at the end because Elias and his Silent Bob made like $1 million from their crypto thing or whatever, and then just paid off.
They basically paid off Emma and got and so now Elias owns Dante's half of the store. So
And yeah, because there was a because Randal actually said this back in Clerks 2 when he thought because in Clerks 2, I don't know if because if anyone needs a refresher, but Dante was actually going to move down to Florida, and then that was like Randall was really like pissed off and didn't really know how to deal with him like just leaving him, essentially. So he was gonna get married to this Emma who was just like a really mean kind of character, and then so she came to basically collect her, whatever tribute or whatever you call it, well, not tribute, her ownership or whatever. So then Elias just throws a bunch of money towards her. It's like, all right, here's your money, bitch, or whatever, And then, but the point I was gonna make was that like in Clerks 2, when Randall thought that Dante was gonna be moving, he told Elias that Elias is basically gonna be like his new best friend, kind of like talk to like he. So then he kind of says the same thing to Elias, like, well, now you're gonna be the person I'm gonna be following, basically, But then they show like a clip where like Dante's standing like next to him in the quick stop. It was just very sad. Like I really
they had this really sad song playing too that was like "I'm from New Jersey" or something with the lyrics. I can't remember the artist, but like, it was a beautiful song. And then they pull out and in the store, kind of like they did in the end of 2, and instead of in the end of 2, we see the woman pulling out milk from the from the cooler to try to find the one with the oldest date, or you know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and in that movie and in the original Clerks, it was Kevin Smith's mom.
Okay.
Doing that, who also appears in this movie as one of the people auditioning for the movie.
Oh, okay.
Because she's the one that says whose kid wrote this shit or something like that.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's kind of meta there, but then we've got Harley Quinn Smith at the end of the movie playing the character of Jay's daughter Millie, Millennium Falcon.
Oh.
From Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
Okay.
Yeah. She's pulling out oat milk because she's vegan in real life, and she's the one that got Kevin to be vegan.
Got it.
So she's pulling out the oat milk. So it's just funny doing the same thing.
It was too. She was like kind of like sort of like flirting with like her actual real boyfriend.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, it was funny.
She was kind of giving him like the side eye, not side eye, but
like looks. Yeah.
Look or whatever you call it.
Kind of like a look, like, hey, you're cute, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of, that's sort of meta, right? I didn't know that they were.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know that was his daughter for one thing. I didn't know that she was dating that guy either. So that was So yeah, this review was a little bit different. We didn't really go like a bit. It was more of just like our feeling about what about it and stuff like that, and
yeah, I mean, if
sad.
It's a sad ending, but it makes sense because when you get to that point in your life where you're, in your midlife, you start to lose people that you care about, and it's kind of like this character that we lived with for 3 decades. We're losing him too, so it's like a thing, and it also gives this tour de force performance from Brian O'Halloran, and then also this amazing performance from Jeff Anderson too. It's just all around great performances. And that scene in that theater, it was very. It reminded me of like Cinema Paradiso or something. If anybody hasn't seen that, I recommend that. Yeah, which is one of my favorite movies. So but anyways, Any other final thoughts here before we wrap this up?
Not really. Other than like the fact that like, is it true that Jeff Anderson doesn't really act that much in many movies?
No, he doesn't really do much anymore. He
So
hasn't.
like,
Yeah.
the fact that like, he's not like what you would call like a regular actor. Like mainly work films, and he was in that movie where Brian O'Hara played like the clown that got molested, and then he became like really crazy or whatever, and then
Vulgar, yeah.
Was that called Vulgar?
Yeah.
He was like in the minor. He did play like his friend in that movie, and then
yeah.
But like, so yeah, for someone who doesn't really like acting as like a career, like it's just kind of weird to me of how like he's so good at acting, but like he just decided that wasn't like the life for him or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, but sometimes that's just how it goes.
I mean, he never was one to begin with. He was just Kevin's friend when they made the movie. So
right.
Yeah.
And then it turned out that he was so good at that, and then of course Brian. What's his name? Brian O'Hara. I always say his name wrong.
O'Halloran. Yeah.
Yeah,
O'Halloran. I mean, he was an actor, so yeah. He was a theater actor before this, before the first movie. So yeah,
he's done several things since Clerks and stuff like that. Too, but yeah, just you might have to wait until it comes out on streaming or DVD or whatever, because it's kind of like
it's a limited release that Fathom Events is doing. If you hear this when I post it, there might be like a day or two left of that. Go out and see it if you haven't. I mean, yeah, if you listen to this whole thing and haven't seen it, I don't know what's up with you. But I don't mean to be disparaging. But yeah, also just check out the rest of his work too. I mean, it's like he's not a he's nowhere near a great filmmaker, but it's fun to watch his movies. If you want to see like some deeper movies of his, you can go outside of the Abuse universe and watch something like Red State, which is an amazing movie. But or Tusk. Yeah, but anyways, I don't have anything else to really say about this except for, it made me cry. Made me laugh.
I was crying on the inside because I can't cry in front of people. Well, I mean, like, I could cry in front of like a group of like a
small
friend.
Group. Yeah.
But I can't do it in like a theater because it's too vulnerable for me to do that. But yeah, man. I mean, a great send off, a great swan song, I guess, if you will.
It's a great trilogy. That's all I'll say. Yeah.
Yeah, it is, and that probably means there's probably going to be no Clerks 4, which is fine because
they could do it, but it would have to be Elias and Randal.
Yeah, but
which I don't see.
I don't think.
No, without Brian O'Halloran, it's like I don't know, kind of pointless in my opinion.
I would hope this would just be the end.
Yeah. Unless they go the soap opera route and his evil twin comes. No, I'm joking.
Yeah,
I'm joking.
I would probably hate Kevin Smith if he did that.
I know, me too. Yeah.
Oh, that turns out that he was faking his death because of tax fraud or what or something stupid.
He's in the witness protection program or something, and living in Arizona or somewhere.
I would probably like stalk him. No, I wouldn't. Sorry, I'm not trying to. No, I wouldn't do that. But
anyways, like we said before, check out all2real2.com. Share the show with your friends, and stuff like that. Until next time, folks. I love you.
I love you too.
Sesame loves you too. And guess what?
What?
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to All Too Real 2 podcast, a Cullen Park production. Produced and edited by Michael E. Cullen II. Music by Matthew Hawes. Subscribe and share the show. Visit us at cullenpark.com.